Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 6 of Warslug's British Armoured Car. Scale is 1 to 35. In this part I'm going to be into the bay and then carrying on with some of the armaments. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So before I connect the engine, there's a little drive shaft connector that has to go in. It's just a little shrunk really. It goes into the box area there. Then the engine gets placed onto it. All it needs is the tiniest amount of cement there for this connection. The engine itself sits on 4 little legs on the frame. It is quite difficult to line up. It fits rather well, but because of the little connector from the gearbox to the engine or the drive shaft, getting that in alignment is a bit tricky. Once it's in place, then put your cement in, because there's a good chance that you'll be wiggling around until you fit it. This took me quite some time, a lot of dry fitting, until I was satisfied I knew exactly where it was going. In fact, I moved it around so much, the little connector actually came off, so I had to replace it, and it made it quite difficult to replace once the engine was on. So that connector really has to go on first. But I would suggest don't wait until it dries, because you may have it slightly out of position. Now there's also an option in the kit just to have the bottom part of the engine, that you can see on the underside that I was just working on, that part there. It's only a half part because of the engine bay is completely enclosed, so you don't get to see the engine. So if you're having that option, you don't have to worry about fitting the engine. But the engine does fit, it just takes a little bit of persuasion. Next is the crankshaft. Not crankshaft, starter handle, my apologies. Now, these get fitted in a specific order as well, I should mention. But before I fitted them, I painted it in Revell Aquacolor 91 steel. Now, the order is explained in the instruction, so it's ordered from number 1 to 3. Number 1 being the engine, well, the little connecting shaft, then the engine, then 2 is the starting handle, then 3 is the front panel, which you can see there on the bench. And the sole reason for that is for the starting handle, that it goes in a particular way, sits on the support beam into the engine. The panel here, as you can see, has got a big groove in it, and that just slips up in between the handle. You can't actually get the handle in properly if you put the plate on first. I should say you may be able to, but you would have a hell of a job doing it that way around. So it takes a little bit of persuasion to get into place, but once it's in there, it looks quite effective. So now it's on to the exhaust assembly. You have the top part, which is all in one mould, and then you have 4 separate bottom parts that make up the exhaust. The bottom parts also have the mount for them already moulded on, so you don't have to worry about connecting mounts to the exhaust as such, just making up the exhaust alone. It's a straightforward assembly. There are strange shapes with it being an exhaust, of course, but there's no issues with it at all. Now, there's no any particular order you need to make this up on, but I decided to do the larger parts first, and the tailpipe end, I done that last. The actual right at the end of the tailpipe, the main part of the exhaust, I put on before attaching it to the main unit. That was just for ease of handling, and it helped with making sure everything lines up. But as long as you get the mounts of the exhaust all in one line, you can't go wrong. I should say also there was very minimum amount of cleanup needed to be done once the parts were off the sprue. So that was a nice surprise. As you can see there, I'm painting it in 91 silver Revell Aquacolor, while the mounts are painted in the main colour of Revell Aquacolor 93 dark green. Next is to make up the rear axle and drivetrain. Now there's a lot of little parts to this. I've got them all laid out there. The First part is the disc or brake disc part of the arc. So that actually comes in two halves. Generally they come in with just one disc, but you have to put the halves together on this. You have to be quite careful while making this up. Part of the disc forms the location points for the next part to go on. There's three little holes that are made when it joins up. So when you put your cement on, because the cement melts and bonds, make sure it's not encroaching onto that area. So when I put that part on, as you just saw, I made sure the disc wasn't completely dry when I placed that on, and that bond then, while it was welding, helped to hold the part instead of having to use any extra cement. After doing that, it was for the central drivetrain. That again is just a cone shape. It goes onto the central dome part. On the opposite end that you see me putting on, it does have a sort of disc part that goes on. Now, interestingly, that has a decal on it. I didn't see the point of putting the decal on, so you wouldn't actually see it. But I suppose it's just a matter of choice. So that's the sub-assembly done. And while that's dry, I'm just going to be fitting the exhaust. Now, the exhaust mounts, you have to look at the location points for they're embedded in the actual bed of the truck, and there's quite a lot of things in there that is obscuring the view. So have a good look, and it will sit in there perfectly, but there's a chance that you may get it in the wrong position. So have a look at exactly where these points are. There's a little bit of detail and paintwork to be done before I fit these. The discs are 91 steel, Revolt core, and the idea of painting them now is so it's easily to cut into the different sections when I'm painting, instead of when it's all assembled. The main drive shaft area is painted in Tamiya's XF84 dark iron. Again, I'm just painting the tiny little parts before assembling them, so it's a variation of those two colours that I'm using. The assembly itself, in a way, is simple enough, but you really have to make sure that the discs are facing the right way. These are the two prongs that you see here. They're at the bottom or top. It depends how you look at it underneath the truck, but basically they're visible, so they can only be on one side. Now there is a little notch in the mold to help with this. However, mine weren't exactly clear, and they were able to move and spin around a little bit when I fitted them. So again, the dry fitting process was essential for this. And once I got it in position, as you see there, I'm just tidying up the paint. Fitting the unit was easy enough. There's two location points, so one on each suspension leaf, and then of course the drive shaft gets fitted into the corresponding connector. It goes without saying though, this is where you find out if you've placed everything in the proper location. Luckily I have, and everything is fitting perfectly. It's onto the radiator grille now, and for the face of it I'm painting a Mr. Hobby H38 steel red metallic. So there's two parts to that, as you can see there, the front facing part and the rear facing part. And then I'm using Revolt Acrylic 91 steel for the surrounding areas. Onto the assembly, the two main parts to come together first of all. There's four little location points for it to sit, but it doesn't really need them because it just embeds quite well. And then the outer casing then goes on, and that just slides into position. The top part sits proud onto it. It initially looks like it doesn't fit, but it does. It's just the nature of the shape of it. To fit it onto the frame, again, it's a simple process. There's two location points for the feet to sit in. They fit in very snugly, and it should just fit directly in it, just with a gentle persuasion. There's no room for it to move anywhere, so once it goes in, you can be confident just to let it sit and weld. And as in fitness, this is where I'll end part 6. There's a little bit of touch-up and paintwork to be done at this stage, but apart from that, so this is a good place to finish part 6. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you go and check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, and please do so, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my future builds as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.